Welcome to True Guy Globe News Updates. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to stay updated. Iloilo, Philippines, 11th July 2025. The city woke up under a warm golden light. The streets were full of life as people began their day. Colorful jeeps drove past old buildings, and the smell of street food filled the air. In the middle of the Visayas, life was full of energy, offering both excitement and the chance to stay hidden. In a quiet spot of this busy city, a man once sworn to secrecy found a place to lay low. He sat with a cup of bitter coffee, watching the world pass by. He blended in, unnoticed, using the city's noise and chaos to hide. His name was Raza, a name only whispered in secret by Iranian intelligence. To most people, he didn't exist. He was like a ghost, carefully moving through life without leaving a trace. His job was to gather information, send it back, and never be seen. He wasn't allowed to get involved or share anything about himself. Mistakes weren't just bad, they could mean vanishing forever. But in the Philippines, things started to change. The heat pressed down on him, making everything feel heavier, every decision harder. The people were warm and kind. It was a kind of warmth that began to break through the walls he had built around himself. One day, he walked into a small church, not looking for God, but for a target. What he found instead was a group of people who welcomed even a stranger like him. Raza had lived a life built on lies. He used fake names and fake histories. He had worn so many masks, he wasn't sure who he really was anymore. He kept people at a distance, using them only when needed. He had no close relationships. His training told him that emotions were dangerous, and trusting others was a weakness. But the kindness he saw in the Philippines made him question everything. He saw families laughing together, kids playing, and neighbors helping each other. It was a life he had never experienced, and it woke something inside him. The warmth of the people made him wonder if there was more to life than just surviving in the shadows. He had been trained to be a spy from a young age. He had no choice. He gave up his own dreams and lived a life of lies and loneliness. Suspicion was all he knew. But here, in a place full of faith and joy, he started to feel that his protective walls were actually holding him back. For the first time, Raza wasn't sure if he wanted to stay hidden anymore. He began to wonder if he could ever really belong, or if he would always be on the outside, looking in. Raza's story, Part 2. Raza arrived in Manila pretending to be a freelance journalist. This cover gave him the freedom to move around the city without drawing attention. Manila was loud and busy, cars honking, food cooking on the streets, people talking everywhere. His mission was clear: track foreign nationals suspected of causing trouble. He set up surveillance, studied routines, and looked for weaknesses. But something unexpected happened. He started noticing the kindness around him: security guards sharing lunch, strangers helping each other, neighbors leaving their doors unlocked. These moments were new to him. They didn't make sense through the lens of his training. To him, kindness had always been a weakness, but now, it stirred something inside. Watching families in the park, laughing and playing together, made him feel a deep emptiness. The most unfamiliar thing in Manila wasn't the city. It was the man he saw in the mirror. His mission soon led him away from the chaos of Manila to the quieter streets of Iloilo. He was following a target, always alert, every move calculated. The trail ended at a small Catholic church. Its white walls stood out against the colorful town. Inside, the church was peaceful and simple. The air smelled of wood, candles, and flowers. Families sat side by side, children fidgeting, parents focused in prayer, teenagers sharing smiles. Raza, used to cold and emotionless places, felt a surprising sense of comfort. Sunlight through stained glass windows painted soft colors on the pews. He tried to stay focused, scanning the room for his target, but the music and the priest's calm was pulled at his attention. Religion, which he had once seen as just a tool for control, now showed a different face. Here, faith was about hope, comfort, and togetherness. People weren't just attending, they were connecting. Praying with real emotion, real need. Raza watched quietly. An old woman prayed with closed eyes and shaking hands. A father calmed his restless child with a gentle touch. Teenagers sang without holding back, filling the room with joy. None of it felt fake. It was real. For the first time in years, something changed in him. His usual suspicion gave way to quiet curiosity. He started to wonder about these people, their lives, their challenges, their beliefs. The warmth in the room wasn't just from the sun. It came from the people, the way they welcomed each other, the way they believed. Raza sat alone in a pew, feeling something new inside him. Not fear, not duty, but a sense of connection. For just a moment, the spy was gone. He was simply a man, surrounded by others, touched by something bigger than himself. He began coming back to the church regularly, always with his notebook. He watched, listened, and blended in. He always sat in the same spot. The church became a safe place for him. A rare space where he could observe without being noticed. A place where the walls he had built for so long slowly began to crack. Raza's story, Part 3. Raza was used to staying hidden, always in the background. But on his third visit to the church, as morning light streamed through the windows, something changed. Anna, a kind volunteer, walked over to him. She smiled wanly and moved slowly, as if she knew not to scare him off. She asked if he was new, not with suspicion, but with genuine care. She didn't ask for details. Instead, she wanted to know how he felt, if he felt welcome, and if there was anything she could do to help. That first conversation became a regular thing. Week after week, they talked. Anna didn't preach. She shared stories of kindness, of helping others, and of what faith meant in everyday life. Her words were gentle, not forceful, and Raza found himself listening more closely than he expected. Anna asked about his travels, what he thought of the city, and where he liked to find peace. She didn't treat him like a stranger or a mystery, just a person. Her attention was real. Her questions never pushed too far. Raza's training told him to be careful, to look for hidden motives, to question every kindness. But with Anna, there didn't seem to be any. Just honesty. That scared him more than lies ever could. Slowly, he started to look forward to their talks. In a life filled with silence and shadows, their conversations became something he quietly hoped for. A small light in his wheat. Anna's kindness made him rethink everything. The walls he'd built around himself, layer by layer, began to crack. In the calm of the church, Raza found himself thinking about things he usually ignored, like his own vulnerability. Each Sunday, he changed a little. At first, just observing. Then, joining in small ways. Singing a hymn. helping move chairs, saying hello to others. He was becoming part of the group without even realizing it. Anna had opened the first door, but the whole community welcomed him. People called him by name. Loben saved him a seat. Maria shared her food. These small, honest acts affected him deeply. He was invited to a community lunch. He almost said no, but then accepted. Sitting there, surrounded by laughter and shared meals, he felt strange. A spy, eating with the very people he was meant to observe. But it wasn't a trick. The kindness was real. He watched people helping one another, comforting each other, simply being human. He was learning names, tasting home-cooked adobo, and feeling something shift. This wasn't part of the plan. The emotional walls he had relied on for so long were being broken, not by enemies, but by love and sincerity. One Sunday, he helped a young girl read aloud during the service. Anna smiled at him, grateful. It shook something inside. The music he once ignored began to move him. Hymns about forgiveness and second chances stayed with him. He even began reading the Gospels. The words about loving your enemies and helping the forgotten hit hard. They didn't just challenge the spy. They reached the man underneath. By day, Raza still played the part. But at night, he was someone else, someone unsure. His loyalty to the mission was fading. His conscience was waking up. The line between spy and neighbor was no longer clear. He felt divided, torn between who he was and who he could be. Everything came to a breaking point one Sunday. Raza's story, Part 4. The priest's sermon was about the prodigal son, a story of forgiveness and starting over. As the choir sang, Raza didn't stand. He stayed seated, tears falling down his face. He was overwhelmed. The words had pierced something deep inside him. After the service, Father Miguel approached quietly and waited. Without being asked, Raza spoke. He told the priest everything, his real name, his mission, how he had been spying on the church and the people. He expected anger, shame, judgment. But Father Miguel didn't respond with any of those things. Instead, he listened. Patiently. With kindness. The priest said change is always possible. That confession isn't the end, it's the beginning. Real peace, he told Raza, can't be found while hiding behind lies. In that quiet moment, Raza let go of the burden he had carried for so long. For the first time, he felt free. But there was one more step. Father Miguel encouraged him to tell the truth to the community. It terrified Raza. Still, the next Sunday, he stood before the congregation. His voice trembled as he confessed his real name, his real purpose, everything he had hidden. At first, there was silence. Anna looked hurt. The others were stunned. Raza waited for rejection. Then, Lolo Ben slowly stood and spoke. He said the man standing before them was not the same one who had arrived months ago. Others nodded. Maria reminded everyone that forgiveness was central to their faith. What came next was not anger but grace. Anna stepped forward and offered her hand. Her face still carried sadness, but also understanding. One by one, others came to embrace him. They didn't see a spy anymore. They saw a man who was lost, now trying to find his way. A man who wanted to change. They gave him a second chance. And so, in a small church in the Philippines, a man who had once lived in lies finally found his truth. Raza's story became something of a quiet legend in the town, a reminder of how powerful forgiveness can be. That even the coldest heart can be changed by kindness. That no one is beyond redemption.